Tuesday, September 26th, 2023, 5:30. Call to order, please.
Roll call.
Yeah,
Commissioner LaHaye.
excuse me. So we prayer. When you get back to your Reverend Nancy Baldwin from the Northeast Sanctuary of Alpena.
Do I go ahead?
Yep, please.
Allowing me to open your meeting in prayer. Heavenly Father, we love you so much, and we thank you for this opportunity to gather to make decisions for our community. Lord, I thank you for each and every servant that's here. I ask you to strengthen them, bless them, help them, Lord, give them wisdom, help them to guide and direct our city to where you need it to go. God, I ask you to continue just blessing this body, and we give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Okay, pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now roll call, Carrie, please.
Commissioner LaHaye.
Here.
Commissioner Osmer.
Here.
Commissioner Lalone. Here. Commissioner Fournier. Here. Commissioner Francisco.
Here.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Here.
Commissioner Peterson.
Here. Motion to adopt agenda. I'd like to make one correction for a second here. John, we're going to put you right after board action item number 3. Because instead of at the end, towards the middle.
I have a special guest coming tonight.
Okay. So we're going to move John right after action item number 3. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda? Not entertain a motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Francisco.
Second.
Support by Commissioner Osmer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Carried. Public comment. Do we have anybody in the audience who'd like to make public comment? Please step forward. Is there anybody on Zoom that's got their hand raised? If not, we'll close public comment.
Is this for agenda items only, or is this the one?
The public comment, 3 minutes you got.
You have one at the end too?
Yes.
Okay, I'll speak.
Yep. Consent calendar action item number 1, motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes actions as listed attached, filing of all reports. I have a motion.
I'll make the motion. Like to pull
You
actually
have to pull? Okay.
EDC number 1 and EDC number 2.
Let me get those up here. Okay. Is there any other one? There's only more.
I get them all.
You got them all then.
You got them all.
So make a motion to approve the agenda. Minus those 2.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kozlowski, support by Commissioner LaHaye. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, John, action item number 1.
Well, the reason I pulled action item 1, and I know it's further down in the agenda, so I don't know if you want to just hold off till that point.
Yeah, we'll just hold off.
One of the reasons that I pulled it is I didn't want it on the consent calendar and the agenda. So item number 2, the only reason I'm pulling that is there was a discussion or the email last night with modifications, and the reason I'm asking, or I asked to pull that, was when we have a change to a motion that was previously at a meeting, I think we need discussion on that, whether we know what the discussion is, but because it was the consent calendar or the motions were made in the Economic Development Committee, there was changes to that motion. I think we need to pull it just because of.
Yep, I was going to do that also. So we're going to move that down, and let's move that down to new business. Right before my report. Right before my name, but $2,000. I think. Okay. Those motions move forward. Those down. We need a vote on that, Mary Catherine. Yeah, we should need a vote. I need an action item and move those. Make a motion, please.
Make a motion.
A motion by Commissioner Dave,
I'll support.
support by Commissioner Lalone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, well, moving down. Action item, number, let's pay the bills.
I apologize, Commissioner Peterson. Was the motion to approve the rest of the items on the consent calendar? Because you do have meeting minutes that would need to be approved as part of the consent calendar.
They do that
And we did.
previously with John Kozlowski and Bill LaHaye.
Yeah, we did
Yeah,
that.
those were approved
Those were approved.
before
Yeah.
we discussed the ones that were pulled.
After you pulled them.
Yeah, but with the motion that those two were being pulled.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, bills to pay. Is any questions, Gary, on the bills? Not, I'd entertain a motion to pay the bills. Moved. Motion by Commissioner Osmer, support. Support. Commissioner Kozlowski. Roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Board of Canvassers term appointment, recommend to appoint Tom Britton and Linda Ayers to the Alpena County Board of Commissioners for a 4-year term beginning November 1st, 2023 and ending October 21st, 2027. Do I have a motion on that, please? Motion by Commissioner LaHaye, supported by Commissioner Osborne.
I just, a point of order, if I could, Mr. Chairman, it says ending October 21st of 2027. Should that not be October 31st? Because otherwise we have 10 days and not trying to put anybody on the, I'm just,
So it's supposed to be October 31st. Yeah.
it's supposed to be October
Okay.
31st. Okay, so we can take a pen and ink change
Yeah.
and make the motion correct.
Okay, we have some motion and support. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski, Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Hey, John. Resolution.
Okay. So got the email forwarded to us by the clerk's office for the resolution. So the reason I wanted to have that discussion and maybe make a motion to adopt it is one of my concerns with this is I've been to actually one particular of my township meetings, and there's been discussion about, how they view potential solar farms and wind, well, actually probably not so much the wind farms, but just the concern that they've discussed at that. And I know that if we don't do something and we allow the state to basically oversee that with the Michigan Public Service Commission, my concern is that we lose control at the local level. And so I think that we would lose our ability to have input into that, where the decision on the location and the sizes. And I think that the fact that we as a board in our townships, as their boards, know better than the state where best to put these things. And I'm not saying that we can't have them, but I'm saying that we need to, yes, ensure that we don't lose our right to have input on that. So I would like to adopt the motion, adopt the resolution, propose legislative control for solar and wind development for Alpena County.
This has been recommended by MAC also. They're putting it also. So Michigan County didn't, my memory serves me, didn't Pesquito go through this a couple of years ago where they were bringing wind farms in and
I think so, yeah.
whatever, yeah.
We did.
I also don't hear from my constituents all that often, but I have had 4 or 5 people contacting me with concerns about this as well. So I'm glad that we're addressing this.
You want me to read the?
Yeah, go ahead, reader.
Hang on a second, now I gotta go find it.
I gotta find it too.
Okay. Want me to put our name in there where we would,
Yes.
So Alpena County Board of Commissioners Resolution, I don't know what it would be, but you'll put a number on it, Carrie, when we do that. Opposing any legislation preempting local control for solar and wind developments. Whereas Executive Directive 2020-10 aims to achieve 100% carbon neutrality in Michigan by 2050, and whereas industry leaders have pledged to reduce carbon emissions to help achieve this goal, and whereas efforts to expand renewable energy projects will continue to increase in the state, and whereas the governor has proposed that the Michigan Public Service Commission be the sole regulating authority for solar and wind projects to expedite these efforts. And whereas by granting the Michigan Public Service Commission this authority, local control will be preempted. And whereas should local control be preempted, a county, township, city, and village would be unable to determine the location, size, and setback distance, decibel level, and any other criteria for solar and wind facility. And whereas should local control be preempted, a county, township, city, and village would be unable to determine requirements for construction, operation, use, maintenance of a solar and wind facility. And whereas if a county already has a solar and wind policy, practice, regulation, rule, or ordinance on record, it would be null and void. And whereas other types of energy facilities, while regulated by the Michigan Public Service Commission, must adhere to local zoning. And whereas this proposal grants for more regulating authority for the Michigan Public Service Commission than any other energy source. And whereas Michigan Association of Counties opposes the legislative action that may grant the Michigan Public Service Commission this power. Therefore, be it resolved that the county opposes the preemption of local control in solar and wind siting and siting and zoning. Adopted whenever we approve it, I guess. Today.
You want to make that motion, John?
Yes, I make that motion.
A motion by Commissioner Kozlowski. Second motion. Support by Commissioner Osborne. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thank you, John. And just Steve on.
Just one note, Chairman.
Yeah.
There are, and I'm hearing it probably is most likely that the legislature is going to adjourn early this year. So the faster we can get that to them, better, because they're probably going to be taken very soon.
Steve on. Okay. Hi, Steve.
Good evening, everybody. Pleasure to see you all again. The first item I have for you is a cancellation of a fixed base operator services agreement. This agreement was put in place with Huron Aviation Services, and it basically commits them to collecting our ramp and landing fees for any transient aircraft that come into the airport, both during scheduled hours and after scheduled hours. With the county taking on the fueling responsibilities in December, they won't have the personnel there to continue with this contract. So it's my recommendation that we sever the contract on 9 December so that when the county takes over fueling on the 10th, we're in a position to collect these fees ourselves.
Do I entertain a motion?
I will.
Motion by Commissioner Lalone, support.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Fournier. Discussion.
Just a question, is there any difficulty or liability if we cancel the current service agreement?
No, sir. There's always a 30-day built-in clause on these sorts of things. And I don't think that Huron Aviation Services would like to continue doing it anyway, because they'd have to keep a person on full time from about 6 in the morning until about 9 o'clock at night. And if they're not really doing anything other than hangar keeping, I doubt that they're going to want to have somebody on shift.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome, sir.
More discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fournier, Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Hey, Steve.
Okay, the next item is the commercial operators agreement, is basically the permission from the county to any entity to conduct business on the airport. The commercial operators agreement with Huron Aviation Services, it actually timed out 30 April 2022, but there were certain issues that were going on at the time where we basically left paperwork alone. And the commercial operators agreement has a stipulation in it to continue on even without being officially extended. So what I'm asking for tonight is to officially extend the commercial operators agreement to Huron Aviation Services. Again, this would be until December. And after, in November rather, we would offer an amended commercial operators agreement to them that would basically remove the fueling aspects, but allow them to continue to do things like hangar keeping, aircraft repair, that sort.
I have a motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Francisco, support.
Support.
Support by Commissioner LaHaye. Discussion. Not roll call, please.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Yep.
You too.
Jessica Van Wolfen. Program manager for,
On the screen.
on the screen. There she is. Go ahead,
Sorry about
Jessica.
that. I thought I was going to be in person, but my last meeting ran a little bit late.
Okay.
So my name is Jessica Van Wolfen. I am the Community Corrections Director for 6 counties in Northern Michigan, Alpena being one of them. And I am just seeking an approval and resolution for our fiscal year 24 grant. And that includes in Alpena County, groups within the jails for offenders that have been sentenced with a felony. It also includes help with getting their GEDs and making sure they pass their GEDs, whether they're incarcerated or once they're out. We also offer substance use assessments and substance use testing for individuals trying to get into drug court and or treatment facilities. And we also offer, which is new, I don't know if many of you know Nicole Hatch, but she is the one that does our groups over there. And she was recently educated in a new group that is going very, very well. It is almost at its very first ending with 8 to 10 weeks roughly for the program. And she will be at 100% success completion rate once this one's complete in a week. So it's going pretty well so far. So I just need the resolution for next year's grant.
Everybody has a resolution. I entertain a motion to pass this resolution for a community grant, community correction grant application.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Lalone, support.
I'll support.
Support by Commissioner Fournier. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski, Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Sorry, I was a little late. I witnessed stuff that I had to deal with on the way over.
It wasn't you.
As long as it wasn't yours.
No sleep ever for you.
I'm here today to move forward or ask permission to move forward with a secondary road patrol grant through the Office of Highway Safety and Planning. This year, we're allocated $80,941 towards the position, with roughly, our county match would be roughly $33,000. This is a renewal. We do it every year. Just seeking permission to move forward for this fiscal year.
Entertain a motion. Approve this. Motion by Commissioner LaHaye.
I'll support it.
Support by Commissioner Francisco. Discussion. Not roll call, please.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
Brenda. We have you on the agenda.
Yes, I am. In your packet, you will have the cost allocations. And I was going through them and it came to my attention about the parks. And I asked Mary Catherine to put it on the agenda and I'd like to talk about it now before Parks goes into their budget, because the county is going to be going into budget pretty soon and I would like to get this taken care of if we can. Parks has not been paying us any cost allocations. Last year, we did hit Kim Elke very hard in 9/11. She absolutely had no idea it was coming, and that's why I want Parks to know beforehand. Oh, if I'm reading this correctly, for 2024, their cost allocation would be $33,884. This year, it would have been $25,484. So I'm bringing it to the board and I'd like to make a motion that we approve this so Parks starts paying their cost allocations as others are doing, as you can see.
Would this be in the next year, 2024?
Yes, and they'd get it so they know this year's budget when they do it. Instead of scrambling, say, hey, we didn't know it beforehand, we didn't budget for it. Like Kim really had an awful mess last year.
Kim, can you give us some history on that? Why it hasn't been?
Why it hasn't been charged?
Yeah.
This is the Board of Commissioners felt that the parks needed that money to grow and keep it in their own. But again, there has been a lot of discussion in the last couple of years as to how much time the Commissioner's office has been spending working on the stuff for parks. So, and their person's being paid out of the Commissioner's office and Parks is not paying anything for it.
Parks doesn't pay the per diems for the commissioners going to their meetings. It'll come to his.
Commissioners going to their meeting?
Yeah.
Parks Commissioner.
Park commissioners paying that?
Parks Commissioners do.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, park commissioners not paying our representation on that board.
We actually get
Yes.
paid out of the parks.
They're paid out of the parks.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Brenda, you got a motion?
I did make a motion that we now start charging Parks for 2024, their cost allocation.
Got a motion by Mr. Fournier for cost allocation towards the Parks and Recreation Commission. Do I have support?
I'll support.
I'll support. Support by Commissioner Lalone. Discussion.
Just a question, if this motion is made during the budgeting process, can the commissioners choose to not have them pay cost allocation? Or if the motion is passed, then automatically they're going to be paying cost allocation regardless of what we decide during the budget process? I need to know that before I vote. I'd like to know that before I vote. Let me put it that way.
I mean, I guess I would say that if you pass a budget that does not have this included, that would be the final say on it, right? So,
Okay.
That being said, if you make a motion today, we will include it as part of the budget materials. It will be in the draft budget, and then you will review it again when you review all of the budget materials as part of your budgeting process.
And the decision could be reversed.
We don't vote during budget time.
Well, you vote to approve the final
Final
budget.
budget.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but, you know, if this motion passes today, it will be included
In the budget.
in the budget
Okay.
for review.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Francisco.
Mhm.
Do you plan on pulling it during budget time?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what
I am making a motion.
I understand what
And
you
if
mean.
we approve it,
Mhm.
it'll go automatic. If we say no, then it's no.
Okay. I just,
Mostly that's when you make motions, that's why you do them. But according to Mary Catherine, that we can pull it. So
If it's in the budget, we can.
okay. I just wanted to know if this was the
so
final
why am
answer.
I
Or it's gonna
making a
be.
motion now?
Well, to put it on the budget.
Yeah.
Budget.
I'm putting it on,
Anything
so-
that won't be on the budget.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Parks will know.
Vehicles, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the vehicles that all the parks and they're using that comes out of the county's budget?
No.
That comes out of their own budget?
Yes.
So really, I mean, cost allocation and the cost allocation plan will actually come to you guys for approval at the Finance Ways and Means meeting. The cost allocation really is a way to think about all of the central services. So you think about, accounts payable, you think about payroll, you think about insurance, you think about, all of the things that the clerk's office handles for all of the departments throughout the county. Cost allocation is a way of accounting for those central service things. As Treasurer Ludlow mentioned, right, the Board of Commissioners in the past has made the decision that the Parks and Recreation needed those funds in order to accomplish the things that the Parks and Recreation Commission was trying to accomplish. This will obviously have an implication for their budget. That being said, if they know that this is something that the commissioners want them to take into account, then they can look at their budget and then, take that into account, make different choices about where they make their expenditures. And then that will come back to you guys as part of the entire budget for approval.
And
Thank you.
On the parks, when we've had discussion in the past couple of years, there was actually more than a couple of years. So I think not this year, but last year, 2 years ago, we had a discussion about giving the county general fund $5,000 for what the support, I guess. And I think this is probably more realistic to where the support probably should be. And then as another piece to that, there was discussion about funding a half of a position out of the Parks General Fund to cover the county maintenance. And my thought would be if we're doing that, then, and we haven't transferred that over, correct, Kim?
That is correct. In the 23 budget, just a second here, I'll have it up. I believe there is $19,500 within the parks budget that is budgeted to be transferred to the general fund to help offset that cost. And let me get down. And in 22, okay, so in 22, $5,600 was transferred from the parks to the general fund to help offset some of the cost of maintenance, I believe was the thought there. This year, there is $19,650 budgeted to come across back to the general fund to offset. That has not happened as of yet. And right now, there is nothing in the 24 budget budgeted to come across to the general fund to offset some of those costs. But again, we haven't had a cost allocation, even though the parks have, 5,000 was not anywhere near what they would have paid if they paid the cost allocation. I can bring that up if you'd like. But they voluntarily did that, and they budgeted the $19,650 this year. Granted, none of the funds have come across, but it was within their budget. In the 20, I need to find the right spreadsheet here. Cost allocation. So I have the numbers for this year. And the right budget, yeah. So for 30, the cost allocation for the budgets. So in 22, if the parks would have been charged a cost allocation, it would have been $27,868. And in 21, it would have been $19,090. In 23, it would have been $25,848. So, if we take the numbers that have been provided with the current cost allocation that we've received for 24, their cost allocation would be $33,884.
And your motion was for 25,000.
No, my
okay.
motion was for 24, it's $33,884,
Okay,
which
amount.
would be their share.
Their fair share. Okay.
Recommendation.
Yes, because we didn't put it in the budget for this year, which there would have been 25,484.
Correct.
Okay.
But you know, the veterans even pay a cost allocation.
Great.
Parks do a lot of business through the treasurer's office.
Well, it's not just the treasurer.
Not just the treasurer's, no. But
Sure.
Miss,
to be more than fair.
you know how long they've gone without paying the cost allocation?
Since I've been here, they were not given a application, which would be 2013.
Good. As far back as I can see, they've never been charged cost out.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? A motion, a second, roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner LaLonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Library presentation. Deborah? Hi, there you
Good
go.
evening. I'm thrilled to be here in Alpena as your new library director. I've got a little over 3 months under me, so I'm still learning the ropes. I'm looking forward to getting to know the community and how I can help lead the library into the future. In the last 20 years, I have worked in public libraries in Michigan and Colorado, and have also worked in one school district in Michigan. I love bringing innovative services and programs to the community. So today, Jessica has put together a presentation for you to help you understand the role of the trustees and to let you know what's been going on at the library. So thank you for your time today. Hello.
Hi.
I'm Jessica Luther. I'm the assistant director at the library. I'm sure you all remember me from times past. All right, so yeah, so we had realized that it'd been quite a long time since the library has made a presentation to the county commissioners. Usually it's just when we're looking for money. So we wanted to reacquaint some of you and introduce the rest of you to who the library is, what we do, who we are, and how we operate. And since you all appoint our trustees, we kind of figured it was essential for you to know, how libraries function and the important role that those trustees play in our organization. So we have our mission and our vision that, we want to enrich the community through equitable access to library services and cultural opportunities. And we imagine in Alpena County where all feel welcome, safe, and seen. And we imagine a place where libraries bring people together to experience creativity, joy, and a sense of place through learning. So, about what county libraries are. So they were established in 1917 through Public Act 138, and that's the law that allows for libraries to receive millage funding and or government appropriations through our county. And this law also sets how many board members we can have on the Board of Trustees. So as you can see, we are very much under the Michigan Constitution for functioning. The Alpena County Library was not always a county library, however, and in fact, it ran as an independent ladies metropolitan library for many years, starting in 1864, before becoming a part of this governmental unit in 1967. Some of you may remember in 2017, we had our 50th anniversary with a lovely gala. So Library Board of Trustees, since the government determines, how many trustees we can have and that you all appoint our trustees. So understanding the role of the trustees on our library board helps everyone that is involved in this entire process. It helps you, it helps us, it helps the new trustees and the existing trustees. So we have 5 trustees that are appointed, and their role is to adopt the bylaws and rules for the board's governance, maintain control over the building and grounds of our library, control the expenditure of all of the funds credited to the library. They appoint, supervise, evaluate, and discipline or remove a director. They approve our budget. They adopt policies, rules, and regulations regarding the use of the library. Our board is very much a working board. They are expected to participate in committees and do various other jobs. The governing board of a library is the legal face of the library. They have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the library in all matters, but especially in financial matters. The library establishment statutes provide the board with the authority to manage funds belonging to the library and the responsibility to manage them as public funds. It's an extremely serious duty. That said, the board and the library director have to work as a team. You know, the board establishes the policies and approves major decisions, but they do not oversee day-to-day operations. Our directors are professionals trained in the particulars of library service, and they are experts in their field. Our library is a Class 5 library. In fact, it is the only Class 5 library located north of Saginaw. And as such, we have strict requirements for the library director to ensure they have the experience and the knowledge needed to manage a library of our size. So to ensure the best library service, the director has to be allowed to manage the library without inappropriate board interference. The board needs to trust that they've hired the best person for the job and then trust the judgment of that person. Board members should never criticize or denigrate the library director or other library staff publicly outside of formal evaluations done while in a public meeting. Criticizing any of your staff members or colleagues in public is actually really bad form, so it's just not something we approve of in the library world, and it's highly unprofessional. It's rude and definitely not the sign of a team player, and we need team players in order to succeed. So excellent trustees, those are our hype crew, they're our cheerleaders. So they have vocal and visible enthusiasm for the library. They attract the support of other community members, and they're knowledgeable, enthusiastic, and supportive of the library. So that means they should have library cards. They remain objective and leave their personal beliefs and politics at home, do their homework to learn and prepare for their many roles and duties, attend special events at the library, assist with surveys of the community, encourage the development of a friends group, participate in the public promotion of the library with the director and other board members and staff. Board members are our best public library advocates. So the Library of Michigan, which is under the Department of Education, they're the ones that publish all of the guidelines for library directors, library trustees. They have a library law consultant that we work with quite regularly. So within the digital copy of this presentation, there are clickable links to the Library of Michigan and the trustee manual that outlines in way more detail what I could go through in this meeting. They also offer training and workshops throughout the year, and we offer those regularly to our trustees, our friends, and our staff. So enough of all. So the library, we have the board, and now we also have our staff, which they're the ones that keep the doors open every day. The ones that you see when you go. We have currently employed 21 people. We have our administrative staff, which is the director, the assistant director, and business manager. We have public services, which are, those are the people at the desk, our head of adult services, youth services. We have our special collections department. And then we also have facilities that make sure that the building is heated and clean, and the cataloging. And then we also have the adult literacy coordinators. So we have all of this going on. How do we pay for it? It is very surprising to me how many people don't know how libraries are funded. So we are currently have a 0.75 operating millage and a 0.25 special millage, and that is designated to the building renovation bond payment. We also receive state funding, which is a fraction of what we need to operate, and that is based on our service area and also the qualifications of our staff. We also get penal fines. So when someone gets pulled over for a speeding ticket, that money goes into the pot and then it's distributed to the library. Unfortunately, these are not enough to provide all of the services we need. Libraries were designed to be funded by and for their community, but currently tax revenue, state aid, and penal fines have not been enough to keep up with rising costs and the expanded needs for services. But our staff has become very creative with stretching a dollar and still being able to do some really cool things. So we write grants throughout the year to get funds for special projects. We use donations from individuals and businesses when we have our large author events. Our friends of the library are also very generous with us, but that's still, if we had unlimited funds, the things we could do. So what have we been up to at the library? So just this year so far to date, we have 9,261 library cards, 985 of which are brand new library card holders. We've had 46,503 items go out our doors, 3,286 items added to our collection, over 25,000 uses of our computer lab, 157 library programs, and 4,357 program attendees to these programs. We've been very busy with programs and projects since the beginning of the year. The Special Collections Department presents a local or state history program monthly, covering a wide range of subjects. The history of the Civilian Conservation Corps, genealogy workshops, historic barn tours. It is a very broad scope. We recently hosted the Smithsonian's Museum on Main Street Spark Places of Innovation traveling exhibit that opened with a maker fair featuring local creators. This perfectly dovetailed into the theme of the exhibit, which is how small towns innovate and create to impact the larger region, state, and world. Our new makerspace for community creativity and exploration was the site of multiple workshops this year, where people learned how to use a 3D printer, a glow forge, the Cricut machine, and also how to sew and other basic bow technology projects. Each spring, we have a seed library for members of the community to select seeds for their gardens, and then they share their seeds with others to use. We hosted an evening with David Sedaris in April, which sold over 600 tickets and brought a New York Times best-selling writer and comedian to Alpena High School. Our youth services department hosts outdoor story times at the farmers market, brings crafts and activities to various community celebrations, including the Brown Trout and the Thunder Bay Folk Festival. The head of our youth services, Sarah, is in her second year of the Classroom Libraries Project in partnership with the AMA ESD. This project helps teachers remake the libraries in their classrooms. And Sarah helps them select the books based on their curriculum needs, guidelines, and interest. The project has been so successful that the AMA ESD recently presented the project to the state superintendent, and this project will be modeled for other educational service districts throughout the state. We partner with as many Alpena County organizations as possible. We work with Hope Shores Alliance, the Boys and Girls Club, the Poetics Lab, local improv groups, the Genealogy Society, the DDA and Chamber, the United Way, Alpena Lifelong Learners, the Marine Sanctuary, the League of Women Voters, NEMSCA, and many, many more. We are a far-reaching organization. So we do have services you might not know that we have. Everyone thinks library, oh, it's just book. You go in there, you shut up, grab your book. That's not the case. We have locker pickup that's available 24/7, so you can get your items when it's convenient for you. We have ebooks, magazines, and audiobooks all available for you to download. Wi-Fi hotspot, so if you're out on the pontoon in the middle of the lake, you can check your email. We have Kindles. We have our library of things, which has a sewing machine, ukuleles, telescopes, an outdoor movie kit, yard games, a pasta maker, all available with your library card. We have talking books and a toy library. We have sensory kits. We have Vox books, which they're audiobooks that live within a living book. So your children can sit there, they read the book, and it's speaking to them. We have the computer classes and tech help. We have our meeting spaces, research aids. We have local history walking tours that are all available virtually that you can download on your phone. GED assistance. We have hygiene resources and period products for people who cannot afford them. And we have access to hundreds of digital resources and other libraries just through our website. So looking ahead, we love our location downtown and we love our building, but we want to reach the people we aren't reaching, the people who can't get to us, regardless of the reason. We are the Alpena County Library and we want to make sure that we're serving the whole county. So we're going to be moving outward and meeting people where they're at. We'll be hosting library events at different locations throughout the county. We are starting monthly computer and tech assistance at the Alpena Senior Center. We will be doing starting mobile library services, expanding our homebound services. We'd like to provide Wi-Fi access at different locations outside of the library. We are scheduling school visits for the library and then visits to the school from the library. We're hoping to be installing more story walks and little free libraries outside of our little microcosm. So that said, if you have any questions or concerns, or just want to learn more about what we're doing, or if you want to get a library card, Deborah and I are always available. You can email us, give us a call. We're happy to sit down with you, take you on a tour through all the new services and things like that. But we greatly appreciate your time and we appreciate your support, and I'm sure we'll be back here again.
Yeah. Excuse me, anybody have any questions?
I do.
Jessica?
Yes.
I do. Is there gonna be any more nights like there was with David Sakar?
Yeah, so we are in the process of finalizing our author for next year.
That was fantastic.
Right, go
There
ahead.
wasn't an empty seat in the auditorium and it sold out. And I know a bunch of people were scrambling, trying to get tickets. That was really a nice hit. And you guys do a really nice job with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm well aware.
All right, thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who picks out the children's books?
Oh, we have our youth services librarian who is specially trained to pick out children's books.
I get so many phone calls from my district and some outside of my district about the children's books with pictures, illustrations about sex.
Well, they are welcome.
It's a small little town. They all stick up for each other. I just think it's inappropriate. Call me. That's me. But children today learn enough as it is, let alone go to a library for second, third graders and see pictures of it in a book.
And I
think it's wrong.
I can appreciate your concern for that. We do have our policies in place that describe how we select our books. We also have a process in place if someone finds the book that they feel is inappropriate, and they would like the library to examine that. We have an entire process in place, and we're very willing to listen to people and hear what their concerns may be. It's essentially our job is to protect everyone's right to books and to read. That is what we do.
Because some of the people that called me, they had been to your meetings and they did bring it up. But it didn't.
We have a formal process, and if they follow the formal process, we are very happy to go through that with them.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thanks, Deborah and Jessica.
Thank you.
Okay, unfinished business and general orders. Nikki.
Evening, everyone. Nikki Anish from the Home Improvement Program. I was before the Facilities Capital and Strategic Planning Committee last week, and that committee decided that I bring this request to the full board today. So that is why I have the pleasure of being before you all. Within the Home Improvement Program, we have many, many homeowners who have received assistance through our program over the years past and have outstanding loans in the form of mortgages on their homes in exchange for the assistance that they received. We have a specific homeowner who came to me with a request to reevaluate her current loan based on a change of situation in her home. When we were able to give assistance 2 years ago, it was a married couple, a household of two. And per our guidelines, a household of two with the income that they were at, they qualified for a local loan with our program, which came to them in the form of a required monthly payment and 2% accrual of interest over a 25-year period. Applying today's guidelines to a now household of one due to a divorce would allow us to possibly change that loan to a deferred 0% interest loan for the remaining homeowner in the home. The wife of that marital situation was awarded the home per the judgment of divorce. A deed has been given in satisfaction of that, and applying our guidelines today, she would qualify for that 0% interest deferred mortgage on her home, which would exist on the home for the lifetime that she lives in and owns that piece of property. Our loan then becomes due and payable when she no longer owns and occupies it, whether she sells it, vacates it, passes away, then our loan will become fully due and payable. So I am here before you today asking that you consider applying today's guidelines toward her current situation and asking that we can basically, in lay terms, refinance her loan with our program.
Nikki, this is on a land contract.
This is one of our home improvement loans.
Okay.
So we have a lien on the home. That lien is recorded at the Alpena County Register of Deeds. Title of the home cannot convey without our lien being satisfied.
So
The question I had was, his name is on the loan, but they are no longer married, but his name is still on that loan as being held responsible.
Yeah, and so the answer to that is that with any mortgage, the mortgage attaches to the home, and whether our program is set up to consider the household. So we consider the household. Yes, he is a signer on a mortgage from 2 years ago. And just like in any situation where one of those two mortgagors became responsible for that home, they may go to their personal banking institution and ask to refinance the loan in their name alone. That's essentially what she's doing. She's coming to us asking to refinance her obligation on the home that she now owns and occupies solely, for us to base our loan based on her circumstances only.
So it, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
So, okay, and we see this happen a lot with the current laws that changed with veterans recently, and this is where this question comes from, is it is a one-person home now. Let's say she remarries in 3 years. Now it's a two-person home again. Does it then re-engage the fact that those loans have to be paid, or does she just, it just kind of gets treated like a one-person?
So I'm gonna back up a little bit before I answer that, and I'm going somewhere with this. So our guidelines as they are in 2023 are different than they were in 2021. So today in 2023, we do not even offer interest-bearing loans, and we don't require monthly payments. So all of our loans are 0% interest deferred loans. So homeowners are always welcome to make payments on those loans. We just don't require it during the time that they're occupying it. So if that occupancy changed, I mean, we could have $2 million worth of loans out there where maybe 20 years ago, we offered assistance and it was one person, and maybe there's a second person in the home and a second source of income. We don't have the manpower to go and reevaluate those household circumstances. So that loan stays as it was.
Okay.
So if in this circumstance, if it became a two-person household again, we don't have a process to take it upon ourselves to reevaluate that situation. If those two incomes together still qualified as low income, in theory, they would still fall within the guidelines of our program, and it would be a moot point. But I understand your question, and I appreciate where you're going with that.
I was just curious. And then in follow-up to that, usually during a divorce process, you have to list your assets. You have to list what debt what debt the couple is carrying. That all has to be reported. Is this one of those things that, even though it's reported, isn't picked up by the courts or counted, or was this just neglected to be included in the divorce settlement on this particular? Is this common, I guess, is.
Well, I can't speak about domestic
Okay.
court rules and laws because I'm not really sure what is typical in a divorce situation. My understanding is when a marital property is awarded to one party or the other, my understanding is that they assume that financial obligation that comes with that. I mean, obviously there's another party that is attached to a loan situation. And if loan payments aren't being made, that property becomes subject to a foreclosure situation. The person who's not living in that home, that may affect his or her credit situation, but it really doesn't affect his or her having a place to live because it's not relevant to them.
Got it.
At that point.
All right, thank you.
Who establishes the guidelines?
It's lovely Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
MEDC, so CDBG funds that are federal dollars flow through MEDC, and MEDC has guidelines that we follow in creating an emergency repair program. We as a local unit of government then create how we're going to run our local program. So there are some rules that dictate down from the state in how we spend our program dollars or our program income dollars. Loans and grants and anything in between they don't get in the middle of. They expect the local unit of government to decide how they're going to run their home improvement program.
And how many dollars are in that right now in your fund?
In the home improvement fund, as far as how much is in cash? Or how-
Available for these types of situations? 120?
That will come in a more detailed way next month, because I understand I get to do a home improvement 101 to you, but just to answer that in general terms, right now in this current fiscal year, I have $115,000 in program income money to spend between now and June 30th of 2024. That's specifically that program. There's other dollars that are flowing through the home improvement program, separate sources of funding. But just in program income dollars, which is where this loan came from, $115,000 are what I have to spend in this fiscal year.
So as I understand it, when someone gets one of these loans, so they can have the loan for 25 years. They don't have to make a payment for 25 years. There's no interest. But then we come calling at the end of 25 years, and I apologize if this is crass, but if they're still alive and healthy and living in the home at the end of 25 years, then we're like, hey, you owe us $22,980 and you didn't pay us, or we're going to take your home.
So great question. The 25 years was only relevant on this specific loan because that's what we amortized out this homeowner was for 25 years. When we do deferred loans with zero interest, those are for the lifetime of owning and occupying that home. So in a case that somebody lives the rest of their life in that home, pass away, their heirs may be dealing with that home within the estate. Our mortgage will show up in a lien, in a title search, and will have to be satisfied before that title of that home can be conveyed. So quite often that's what happens is the homeowner passes away. We still have some loans from 1978 that is just still future spending in our program.
And then, so when it's paid in full, that money turns around and goes back into the home improvement.
It's future spending. Yes. Yep. So when we receive it, we receive money throughout a 12-month period from July 1 to June 30th. And then that's money that we get permission to spend again per the rules of program income under the guidance of MEDC and our program guidelines in the next fiscal year. So we collect money for 12 months, and whether it's monthly payments for loans that have been in existence for decades, or whether it's a payoff of a loan that was a deferred mortgage because somebody sold their home or passed away and the estate sold the home. Sometimes we get that at $23 a month. Sometimes we get that at $30,000 a payoff. And so that money accumulates during the fiscal year.
Do you ever, is there any kind of notification ever sent to some of the homeowners? Like, hey, it's been a decade. Have you thought about paying some?
There has been, the last time I can tell you that just a general friendly reminder went out about a balance on their loan was back in 2019, 2020. So fairly recently. We don't make it a practice every year. I took it upon myself to create a communication to all of our existing homeowners right now as we were approaching the summer tax season, summer property taxes. I just created a friendly reminder that summer tax bills are coming up. We always make sure that everybody's taxes are paid current. And just when you pay your summer taxes, would you please provide us with a receipt? That right there prompted 3 payoffs.
Nice.
Upon receipt of that letter. And it was individuals who I think it's safe for me to refer to as elderly, forgot they even had it, or had been talking to their husband before their husband recently passed, that they really should take care of that so the kids don't have to worry about it. And that letter prompted them to come in and just kind of ask, what's my balance? And I'd like to take care of that.
So Nikki, did I hear you correctly that this new guideline, what you're asking for this particular individual, with your new loans, it's already common practice to approach it now?
That is what our common practice is.
Okay. So Chairman, for just with that in mind, I would make the motion that we go ahead and approve that request, with a note that once we sit through the 101, I really think the board needs to revisit these policies and how they're structured going forward.
I have one question.
Well,
I got a motion right now.
I'll support the motion.
Motion for action item number 7, recommendation to approve request to modify home improvement loan project 006-19-EM to a deferred loan with no interest per program guideline as presented. Motion by Commissioner Osborne. Do I support?
Yep, I
Support by Commissioner Kozlowski. Discussion.
Yes, one more question. Let's say what happens, this person goes out and gets a job for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. They have to report that to you or?
No, they don't.
So they can still live there? No payments, no interest?
Correct.
Again, that's why I made in my motion that we should revisit the policy.
Can you tell me what the guidelines are? Because I'm tired of making my house payment.
So, got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Osmer?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
No.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
We have one
for
more.
answering the
One more.
questions.
One more? Got some more money, don't you?
Do we have one more for me?
No.
Did we approve the second one?
The second one you approved it
Okay.
last
Okay,
week.
sorry.
Yes. I'm like, I wasn't prepared for that, so. It's already done. But thank you.
Thank you.
New business, approved phase 2 construction contracts for runaway. Major Holcomb and Mary Cathal.
Yep, Major Helco is just here as an observer. If there are any questions you have in your materials, the bids for the airport rehab, this is phase 2. This is the other end of the runway. There was one bidder. The bid was reviewed by RS&H, our consultant. For any of you who were close reading, there was a $500 difference between the bid and what RS&H presented. There was a mathematical error in M&M's bid package that RS&H caught and corrected. So the contract that you have in front of you has been reviewed and is recommended to approve for both M&M and RS&H for the Type C services.
You're fine with it, Major? I'm very good. Yeah. I need a motion to approve recommendation.
One thing I personally would like to accuse myself with this just because of the fact of on both sides.
Okay.
I would like to do the same.
Good. Motion by.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Made motion to exclude Commissioner Konashevsky and Commissioner Kozlow from the bidding, from the grant bid. Do I have support?
Support.
Support by Commissioner Lalone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Roll call. We have a motion. We got support, right?
Or is that to exclude them?
That
Okay,
was to exclude them.
now we need a motion.
I'll make a motion for approve the bid from M&M Excavating
Motion by
Company.
Commissioner Lalone, what support? Commissioner Fournier. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lalone?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes. Now we're going to get into land bank. Yesterday morning, Kim and Pat and myself had a little discussion on this, so we decided to pull it, action item on the calendar and bring it for the full board. Kim, you want to give us a little update why the reason what we did that?
Why the reason was that
What did we moved to budget?
from what was originally put out there. Okay, so I seen originally on the consent calendar was to transfer 200,000 from the ARPA funds and that those funds were reimbursable. So a little bit of backtracking, the Alpena County Land Bank Authority is a completely, totally separate business from Alpena County. as a separate employer's identification number. If they apply for federal grants, they have to get their own UEI number. They're completely separate, have to have a separate audit, the works. They're like the DDA. So if the Alpena County chooses to provide support to the land bank, to the Alpena County Land Bank, it's like giving an appropriation to the DDA. They're going to do with it what they're going to do with it. It would be like saying, okay, DDA, you can have 169,000, but oh, by the way, if you don't use it, you had to give it back. So that was some of the confusion, I guess, there with this money being reimbursable. The Alpena County Building Authority Land Bank really has no income source at this point. They are eligible for a 500,000 blight elimination federal ARPA grant. They have until March 31st of 2024 to apply. You know, they have to pick out a project. That's the first thing they have to do is pick out a project. Then they have to apply for the grant. And then when they get the grant, it's a reimbursement grant. So that's where the confusion as far as reimbursement came in. So the idea of Alpena County providing seed money to Alpena County Land Bank Authority so that when they receive that grant, they have the money to spend to be reimbursed, but it would be the Land Bank Authority that would be being reimbursed. As long as the Land Bank Authority has no money, then they have no operational obligation expenses. They don't have to pay monthly bank fees. They don't have to have an audit if there's no money, so on and so forth. So it really doesn't make sense to give the Land Bank Authority money at this point, because then they're going to have to take that money and they're going to have to start paying bank fees. And they won't have all that money available for grant reimbursable expenses. So that was why it was my recommendation, not only as the Alpena County Treasurer, but as the chairman of the Land Bank Authority to go, oh, wait a minute. If you want to make an appropriation, budget the money to come later when they can use it against the grant, that's awesome that you want to show that support. But at the same time, the Land Bank Authority doesn't want to start incurring operating expenses if we don't have to. If the Land Bank Authority, for some reason, would not choose a project to apply for that grant, you're going to know that by March 31st of 24. And if they did not do anything with that, then this board could say, we're going to reappropriate that budgeted amount, that 200,000 that we had originally budgeted to go to land bank, because they're not going to use it. As long as we keep it in our possession, we could do that. And I'm sure I just made this way more complicated than it needed to be.
I don't think so.
It was a lot simpler this morning, or yesterday morning.
Yeah. So that's why.
Transfer, I mean, pretty much sums up like an allocation where if it's just budgeted, it's just.
Yeah, that's just,
possible.
the original consent calendar I seen said transfer, which means you take the money and move it.
Right.
Well, Land Bank hadn't even asked for it.
Yeah.
And we were gonna, here you go. It's like, I think we need to wait a minute, you know.
So
Definitely a good thought to go forward, you know, go ahead and you, again, if you want to budget it out of the 24 budget for ARPA funds. But that doesn't mean you're actually going to move the funds. You're going to wait until Land Bank Authority actually asks for the money.
There's no projects on the books currently, is that correct?
Land Bank Authority has had one organizational meeting, period. That's it.
We got one, and we have one more.
Okay.
We're just in the very infancy of, okay, what do we do?
Yeah.
So now that it is, okay, where kind of projects do we want to look at and pull together? And there are some other grant opportunities as well. that the Land Bank Authority will be looking at. So, but again, they have all the way till March 31st of 24 even apply for this one $500,000 grant. So there's some time there.
You said that they didn't even ask for this 200,000?
That is correct.
Because they've only had, they've only
Why is
had
One meeting.
one meeting.
So why is it on the agenda if they didn't ask for it?
Because it was it was discussed at the economic development meeting here. And our chairman, the Alpena County Board of Commissioners Chairman, Bill Peterson, is also on the Land Bank Authority. And he brought that to the Economic Development Committee, you know, recommending that 200,000 be given to the Alpena County Land Bank Authority so that they could have money to be able to pay for grant expenses to be reimbursed.
So
that's how, we just got a little ahead of ourselves a little bit.
we had the discussion Monday morning and we decided to go ahead and use it as a.
Yeah, that's why that's why Friday night when I seen the consent, that's why I sent the email out to the commissioners going, whoa, wait a minute, we got to talk. And then Mr. Peterson and I had a little more in-depth conversation of some of the moving parts. And that's why this has been changed from transfer 200,000 from ARPA money to land bank to let's budget 200,000 from ARPA money in 24 to be able to give to the land bank if they need it or want it, because they have not asked for it at this time. Hasn't even been brought up at their meetings.
Come out of economics, so. I think we'll need a motion on that, or do we just go ahead and budget during budget process?
Well, it'd be kind of like the same thing that you just talked about with telling parks that they had to pay a cost allocation. You can say that now.
Yeah.
But again, until you guys get down to your final numbers and you adopt those budgets, it could change. Same thing.
I'm gonna make the motion that we deny it.
Got a motion from Brenda. Do I have support?
Support.
Discussion. I think this program is, there's a bunch of grants coming through, looking at, Lenny Avery's been working with a bunch of projects and there's a bunch of stuff's going to be coming up. We only had one meeting. And I think that we just spent $250,000 EDA that we have no control over. Now we have a chance to spend some money that we have control over, that we give to the land bank, unless, yes.
That is not true.
The land bank.
The land bank
But we haven't given it to them.
has control over it, just, okay, but once you release that money to the land bank,
So it's budgeted.
the Alpena County Board of Commissioners does not have control as to how the Alpena County Building Authority spends that money.
Land bank.
Two different entities.
When they came to us, when they wanted to do this, they said that they had the money, not a problem.
That was the DDA, that's something
DDA, I'm
totally
talking
separate.
Talk about the land bank.
Okay,
And they wanted to get it up and running.
ah,
I
okay,
said, you know, we got the money, we got the money coming in, we don't have a problem. So we gave them the property, they didn't have to pay for it. And now all of a sudden, they don't have any money.
Property does.
your land bank doesn't have any property.
At the airport, we gave
That's the recycling.
the recycling.
That's something totally separate, that
Totally
is,
separate.
yeah, that's.
Land bank.
The land bank has nothing. They have no money, they have no property, they just have a board.
Yeah.
Currently.
All right.
They're a
2 people
shell.
on that board?
Yep, 5. There are 5 people on
We
that
have
board.
Bill and
By state law, the Alpena County Treasurer, ever that is, has to be the chairman. And then there are 4 appointed members that are appointed by the Alpena County Board of Commissioners.
So who is on that board?
Bill Peterson, Todd Britton, Russ Reinert, Matt Walagora, and myself.
And if I'm just digging in my memory, as when Lenny presented all this and we kind of went through this, wasn't, if we built it by a certain date, we had up to $600,000 worth of, $500,000 worth of grant availability funds if we had the land bank built before that date, which we did.
If we established, yes, and that we did do, and I did sign the papers saying that we would be interested in using that grant. The articles of incorporation were signed on July 17th. We had to accept the money, I think it was by August 31st, which I have done. But we have not gone through the process of applying for the grant because we don't have a project to put against it. We have to have a project to put against the grant in the first place. We can't just say, yes, we want the 500,000. We have to give them a complete and total project to even apply for it. And that's why I said we have all the way till March of next year, March 31st of next year to just apply. So we have time to put that project together. And it's at that time, once a project would be approved and the grant would be granted, then that's when the land bank is going to be looking for money to pay for the bills that we're going to get reimbursed for. Back when I said, yes, it's 500,000, but it's 500,000 reimbursement. We have to spend it before they're going to reimburse it.
And then the money goes back into the land bank for a future project. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, I got it clear now too.
No problem.
Must have been the pills I took before.
Oh my God, Brenda. Don't make me laugh.
All right, I got
So
that.
you have a motion?
To deny it.
To deny it.
So
And we have a second.
next question then would be, or Ms. Morg, I guess geared towards you, Brenda. Are you thinking that you want to have more discussion maybe during budget and then go from there, or what are your thoughts?
We
Because I
could
think
have more discussion during budget, but for now, I'm just denying it. Period.
So I think, am I correct, Chairman, that much like we can kill what we passed earlier with the parks thing, we can resurrect what we passed now with it. I mean, basically everything's back on the table during budget season. Right? Okay, I just want to make.
Basically, just the opposite of what you did earlier with the parks. With the parks cost allocation earlier, you voted to, yep, they're going to pay it. But when you go to budget talks, you may take it away. Just like now you could take it away. Nope, we don't want to give the land bank any money. We're not going to budget it. But then when it comes into the budgeting process, you could bring it back up and go, oh, wait a minute, we want to give them 300,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But what I can't understand is, you said it was Bill and Mary Catherine had the decision. So it wasn't the full board that decided to do this?
No, it was economics and economic committee, we discussed it.
You're talking to, okay.
Initially, the initial discussion, I was absolutely totally no part of, or I would have been at that point going, wait a minute, we're missing a few dots here. Okay. But the initial discussion and the initial paperwork that came out for the consent calendar specifically said the committee, and this was from the economic development meeting. And again, this is what John was talking about, how the initial motion from the economic development meeting was all of a sudden changed. Because what was on the consent calendar that was released Friday, the Economic Development Committee recommends the approval to transfer 200,000 from ARPA funding to the Land Bank Authority as presented. The funds will be reimbursed. And that's why I went, whoa, and send an email out to everybody and go, this needs to be discussed. And then Monday morning, Bill Peterson and myself and Mary Catherine had this discussion as to why this was not appropriate.
Okay.
And I got them, they agreed to change it.
But I came in too to ask you because I want a clarification, and I liked the example that you said with the DDA, because up until then I was thinking that, it was our, and I probably even said that it's our board, but it
but it is not. It is not like the airport. We can give money from any of our funds to the airport fund and then we can take it back. because they are under our umbrella. They are part of our Alpena County. They're under our EIN number. They are not a separate business from the county. Whereas the Alpena County Land Bank Authority by statute is totally separate from Alpena County. We have separate taxes, separate IDs, all separate, just like the DDA is separate from the county.
So this land bank, they could go out, say we give them the 200,000. They could go out and buy homes with it. Is that correct? Land bank, homes.
They could buy property with
They
it.
could go out and they could buy,
Yeah, they could buy property if they have money.
As long as it's applied underneath the grant, approval of grant.
Well, if you were using that money for the grant,
Yeah.
once that money is in their possession, what they do with it is what they do with it.
so say they buy whatever business, stuff, sell it, make a profit, that stays with them.
Well, most certainly.
We get nothing. We just get them 200.
Well, you get the benefit of that business being back on the tax,
Back on the tax roll,
which is the point of the land bank, right?
If we don't have the land bank authority, we can't apply for that $500,000 that's available.
Well, the other example that you used me yesterday, was the home on Tuttle. You said
Oh,
that was a good example because
Yeah.
you would pay for the home and obviously you broke it down. You're paying for the demolition of the purchase of the property.
yeah, if the land bank had with that particular piece of property, if the land bank had purchased the property from the county treasurer for fair market value, which what they would have had to have done with the way the laws are currently written, would have been 47,000. It was another 40,000 to tear it down. So you're looking at, you'd had $87,000 into a piece of property just to own the property and tear the house down and then prep the land to have a house or apartment put on there, but another 200,000. So there we go. We've just spent $300,000 of a grant. That's, to provide housing to put on the market, because otherwise it's not on the tax roll.
Obviously we want that property to be, the value of the property to be, higher than probably what.
Oh, yeah.
Tax roll.
Yeah.
See, that's where I have the problem with this land bank. We give them the 200,000, they go out and do what they want to do. We don't know what they're doing.
Well, I trust Kim.
Once it's in there for the land bank, they can.
But John, it's not just up to me.
I know.
There are 5 members on that board and I'm just one voting person, so.
I don't trust anybody in this world. I just don't.
But I do believe as the land bank, and this is just my belief, I'm not speaking for the land bank as they have voted, because they have not. But it's my belief that the land bank, when they have selected a project or 2 projects, and that this is what we want to do, they will go to entities and say, will you please front us this money so that we can cover these expenses and get reimbursed. But the land bank, we should be coming forward and asking at that time. Then those issues of what are they going to spend that money on could be addressed. And I don't believe it'll be just Alpena County. I believe they'll probably go to private entities as well. But again, this is just my belief from the one meeting we've had, the discussion, the one whole meeting, yes.
One meeting and they want $200,000 for it. Oh, that's not bad.
They didn't ask.
They didn't even ask. We're just gonna give it to them. Not a problem. No.
You get a motion in a second. Anybody more discussion? Roll call.
Let's clarify what a yes means and a no means before we vote.
Okay.
If we say yes, then the $200,000 appropriation will not be allowed.
Yes.
If you say no, then the 200,000 at this time, right? Okay.
Right? Yes means we're pulling it off. No means we're giving it to them.
Commissioner.
It means we're identifying.
You're identifying.
You're putting it in the budget.
Budgeting.
Identifying the need.
Draft that will not be approved.
Right.
Yet.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
No.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
No.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
No.
Motion carried.
So let's go back in the budget then.
Well, at the moment, I will not include it in the draft budget, but when you guys can discuss it later.
Yep, we'll talk about budget. Okay, moving on, per captain sale of per diem. Come to my discussion that, my attention that, people aren't turning their per diems, and according to board policy, what is the policy? That's 30
days.
30
I
days.
know when Bonnie was here, she was a stickler.
Oh, yeah.
30 days.
Oh.
You didn't want to not turn it for
Yeah.
30 days.
She'd rip it up.
So, yeah,
Would she?
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Give it to her.
that's probably part of the policy.
That's right.
It is the policy.
In the way things started is, you know, people would hold their per diems for a whole year or longer.
Yeah,
We had the same problem with mileage where, you know, you just kind of save it up as your private little Christmas club down here. And then all of a sudden, that was why those policies were put in place and why those timeframes were put in place. It's like, no, if you want to get paid, put them in a timely manner.
That's right.
I do it, but I wouldn't know whether you paid me or whoever paid me. Don't even, so.
I never filled one out. I never seen one.
I've never filled one out either.
So you've
I just
been
called it a
working
wash.
for
I've been
8 months?
working for free for
8
a
months.
little bit, yeah.
No one let you in on the
I
secret.
just don't ever fill one out.
So you gotta go get with Carrie. You gotta get with Carrie.
Bert was gonna send me a nice copy. He said,
Okay. I'll send it.
His name on it.
Remind everybody.
His name on it.
So, and I don't know what Jesse gave me 3 of them.
Yeah, I think Jesse he's been a little behind.
Well, he gave me 3 and I said, this is the last time. So I signed it. So
thanks, Bert.
You appreciate it. Yeah, sorry about that, Travis.
That's okay. No problem.
that's just this little note there to get your per diems in on time. Mary Catherine, approval sale of real estate property.
Yeah, so this came up when we had a discussion in the Economic Development Committee because there was a discussion in regards to the sale of certain property that the county owns and the process for that. This is a policy that I unearthed in some some digital files. I'm not aware that this policy had been approved previously. I didn't find it in any of the board policies. And when our office went back and looked through board actions, I couldn't find it. I think it's a good policy. It needed a little updating just because, you know, we don't have, we have a county administrator now instead of a county coordinator. So I just made some updates to it and presented it to the Economic Development Committee. They reviewed it. And then I brought it up again to the Facilities Committee for a review of the changes. Commissioner Fournier had asked for a red line, so I made sure that I included the red line in your materials.
Has everybody got a chance to look over that? We just need a motion to correct the policy
Just to approve the clean version
corrections, yeah.
changes.
I'd entertain a motion that we,
I'll make the
motion to correct the policy. Motion by Commissioner LaHaye, support.
I'll support it.
Support by Commissioner Francisco, discussion.
The only, I guess, concern that I would have is, I've looked at some of the policies, some of the changes that we've been doing, and my only, I guess, piece of this would be to add to this is where the county administrator is, because I know we've eliminated the board chair and some of the policies to switch over to county administrator. And I still think we need to get that board chair in there for whatever reason that, you know, if there was some reason that, because again, you could be out on disability or whatever. I think we need to keep where it says county administrator, add board chair and or county administrator.
Okay.
I do agree with that.
So like in B, the chairman was crossed off and then put in administrator. I think that's one of those where we need to keep that in case of something. You get hit by the pipe truck, right?
In case we never have a county administrator and she's on here or whoever.
Well,
and then the board chair comes on and said, well, we don't have a county administrator anymore.
Well,
so what are we gonna do now?
Yeah, I think we need to keep it simple by keeping that in there for future reference if something changes that, not that something changes, but if we have that in there, and again, I'm not saying that it could be him, he could be on disability. I think that, or not him, but.
The board chair,
yeah,
whomever that may be.
Yeah, I think to keep that chairman of the board and or county administrator in those, in where we have county administrator as an option. So I know there was a motion.
We can make a friendly amendment
Well, who made the motion?
Bill.
Accept it the way it was, but
Yeah.
you want to change it.
Well, would you be willing to change your motion to accept or put in where to have board chair and or county administrator?
Yeah, and or, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Who seconded?
I did. I would support that.
Motion by Commissioner Kozlowski, support by Commissioner Francisco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we have a motion we can bid on. The motion is, John, we're gonna add county administrator, county board super, board chair, and county administrator, and or. Okay, we got a motion. Get support for that. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner LaLonde?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes. Special orders, Mary Catherine.
Nothing, thank you.
Correspondence, reports of special ed committees, facilities, capital, strategic planning committee update, Travis.
Okay. So the main topic at this particular meeting was in regards to Nikki's request, which raised a lot of questions from Brenda and myself as well, actually. And we've addressed that here tonight. She's going to make a presentation to us in the future. And I think that will probably lead to maybe some corrections or updates to that policy. So if you folks in the group have some suggestions on that, you might want to start making some notes. So when we get Nikki's presentation, we can, ask any questions that we think we might need.
Or any changes.
Yeah, or any changes that we would like to suggest. And then I guess at that time, maybe we will put together another conversation at a meeting to make those changes. And then we just talk about, geez, I guess really that was the majority of conversation. We did talk about some radios for the sheriff's department. The radios that they currently have going to be obsolete in very short order. It's a pretty extensive spend, over $250,000. There was discussions of utilizing some ARPA funds for that. Eric, do you have anything you want to add to explain to the whole group, maybe about the complications with the radios?
Our radios that we're currently using years ago, actually, there was notices put out by Motorola, before I was in administration. This is a while ago, end of service notices. Long and short of it, after 2026, our radios will not be supported on the state system anymore. Believe me, I've been going through with different manufacturers about getting quotes. In the last few days, I've learned more about radios than I cared ever know. Basically, they're going from a phase system to a phase two, meaning our old radios are phase one, so they're not anymore. So we're just trying to get some quotes on what will be the best radio going into the future. And there's like $100,000 difference between one brand to another. We're trying to get, so we are comparing apples to apples instead of apples to oranges once we get all the guys to let you know what we got. That help?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And there was a brief little discussion about maybe some grants through the 911 or something.
There are different law enforcement support grants that might be options that we'll continue to explore for that. Yep.
Okay. Who is doing the due diligence with that? Is that something we would maybe ask Lenny about?
We certainly could, but typically the sheriff's office actually stays pretty on top of potential law enforcement grants. I know that Sergeant Ritter has historically been the person who really has worked on that for the sheriff's department, sheriff's office.
He's worked on like Stone Guard and I can put some things out there that detail like people.
Okay. Maybe just ask around. Don't waste a half a day on it, but you know, obviously if we can get some free money, that's great. So it sounds like it's something that we are going to have to do probably sooner than later. So, you know, thanks for looking into that, seeing what other options we have. And that's all that we had for the facilities. Unless you want to add anything, Mary Catherine?
Nope, good, thank you.
For that.
Thank you, Travis. Jesse's left. Anybody on personnel committee have anything to add? That's
Personnel, you caught me off guard. I don't
okay.
have my notes. I didn't think there was, but
know.
Okay, we'll pass it. Economic development, we more or less went through. Travis, you got anything else on there?
So we discussed the fueling at the airport. There is some due diligence that is to come from that. We had a couple of options for fueling equipment suppliers. We had a couple of good discussions. We are going to, you know, we're going to look at a couple of bids, but it sounds like the app fuel is going to be probably the best option. And I had a discussion earlier today with Steve in regards to making sure that we are established legally to sell the fuel. It sounds like most of our equipment is already registered with Lara. And he and him were actually talking today about, you know, setting up, you know, account numbers for taxes and state licensing. I actually have owned a gas station in the past, so I was asking him about Department of Regulatory Affairs with, you know, weights and measures, if that's something, because we are selling it, that we need to look into. And I'm going to continue conversations with Steve in regards to that, just to make sure that we're covered with everything that we need to be legally.
And as far as I kind of hit a brick wall, as far as be able to actually set up any accounting, because there is nothing really in place to say we are going to sell fuel and we are going to do this and we are going to do that. At this time, it's merely speculation and a proposal. I've reached out to the auditing firm and I have reached out to Mary Catherine, and Steve's been copied on the emails as well. That if this is something that the board chooses to move forward with, the board and the administrator and the department head will need to work with an accounting firm to set up the proper accounting that needs to be done and pay attention to the different taxes and stuff that are going to need to be paid and processed. And I do have an email from Chelsea from Australian Lamp strongly recommending that this committee talk with these people and get the advice to get those pieces in place. I was also then told that you're looking at this happening possibly yet this year. And it was presented to me as asking for budget numbers for next year. So we kind of have a little bit of an uphill if that's what's going to happen.
We have a short period of time.
Yeah.
To figure this out.
That contract was up the 9th of December, so we
This board actually voted 2 years ago to not continue the fueling contract with the existing leaseholder and to take that on internally. That was reaffirmed in a vote earlier this year by this board. One of the things that our airport manager has been looking into is with the fueling haulers, what back office support they have. And that's part of their proposals that they're bringing forward, is how to address these concerns, both with weights and measures and in terms of taxation. And I know that AvFuel it has that as part of their proposal. And that was one of the things we were trying to make sure that were included in the other proposals as they come forward. So yes, absolutely, all things that need to be worked out and taken care of prior to us actually selling the first drop of fuel. But they are all things that are in process.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, Travis, because I probably would have never thought about that because I never owned a gas station or thinking about selling gas. So I go to the gas station, I fill up and I leave.
Right.
And I'm done. So.
And the suppliers, oftentimes, they do this on quite a regular basis. So it should, we always have to wait with the state, but it should be a relatively expedited process. So, and I'll work with Steve also, and I've got some numbers I can share with him, get things expedited a little bit. But I mean, I do think it's doable, but it's certainly things that we're going to have to focus on, no doubt. The other thing that, so along with the economic development, was we discussed the properties that are out at the airport, up by M32. And it sounds like, we would like to move forward to decide how quickly we want to sell parcels and how we go about establishing fair market value on those. And I believe Mike Mahler's already kind of looking into that, right? So we'll get values established and then we can bring it to a future board meeting to decide how quickly we want to act on that. Which also brings up another discussion, and I don't want to get too long-winded, but I'm going to talk with M&M Excavating and see if they're willing to work with us on the price of that gravel. In the event that we decide that we want to sell this material sooner than later, or even later really, maybe it isn't a bad idea if we can secure some of this gravel at a little bit of a discounted price on the airport property or on the county property. Because if we put these parcels up, we're going to have to build roads in there. We're gonna have to build roads for the recycling center. We're gonna have to build roads for the subdivision or however this is divided. And the cost of everything obviously is not gonna go down. So we have a update meeting tomorrow. I'm going to talk with Gabe and see if he's willing to work out a little bit better price on this material. And I'll also see if he can give us a rough idea, what kind of quantity we may need for the MRF. And if that is a suitable material that may save us, some money when we decide to build that. I've already talked with Steve, and there is a location on the property where he thinks that we could store this material where it wouldn't affect operations of the airport. So.
What about the specification on the material? We talked about that it probably wouldn't meet specification. If you build a road, then it's gonna be.
So that is one of the things that I'll talk with Gabe about, and maybe when I'm out there tomorrow, I'll even grab some samples and I can drop them off at here on engineering for some gradation to see if it makes sense.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because I'll take some buckets with me and get some samples tomorrow. So,
Can you say that was something we could possibly use in some of the parks?
yeah,
You know,
yep, yep. And again, it would all depend upon the price. You know, I know we don't need, 300 ton at the parks, but if we took, a 10 or 15 ton chunk and put it at each park for just patching the roads, might save us some money in the future.
How big is the, because look, the pile is huge. And like, you can't tell unless you probably got up close, but what size is that stone right now?
I believe it's 5/8 minus, so equivalent to like a 21 AA or 23A, well, road gravel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the limestone binder.
Yeah.
So, but I'll get gradation spec and see if it's something that does make any sense. See what we can do. And again, it'll just, I guess, come down to the dollars. It makes sense. Maybe we act on it, and if it doesn't, then it's away by November 1st. Yeah.
thanks for being creative, Travis.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could save some money on that. Other than that, that's all that I have for the economic development.
Okay, John, Animal Control.
Just a couple things. So one of the things that we've been doing is trying to review the policies and get policies in place. It's not been going to the best of our expectation, I guess. We had policies, one of the expectations was that we have the policies ahead of time before the meeting so we can review them, discuss them, and approve them. Our last meeting, that didn't happen, so our next meeting will be review of the policies that we did receive. During the discussion, during our last meeting, we talked about getting a copy of the contract, and I've reviewed that. And based on the information, and again, this is just kind of, me talking ahead of it, but just the review from the contract, I do believe that the service that in the contract that Humane Society is providing the city is basically kind of what we're providing. And I know those numbers, we talked about the numbers, and the majority, or at least 50% of those animals are usually coming from the city. And, our discussion at the Animal Control Ad Hoc Committee was, maybe we need to revisit or look at getting with the city and seeing, discussing potential for some help with what we're doing right now that they're actually giving to the Humane Society. That's all I have really right now.
How many policies have you got in place in full?
Well,
Three, I think.
technically, we have the ones that they gave us, but I think those were the ones that we had talked about and discussed at the previous. So I think, is it just two?
I think two.
Yeah, two right now. It's not going as quickly as expected.
Anything to add for that, Eric?
No, he's right on. We did work on one today, so we'll have one for the agenda, additional one. She's supposed to have it to me by tomorrow morning, that I'll get out and get on the agenda so you can see it ahead of time. But her statistic report, obviously, for the month of September, she won't have that done until early next week. We'll get that out ahead of time too.
Thanks.
The commissioners report or other boards, commissioners, DHD for Brenda or Robin.
Yeah, I got on here, Dr. Myers, comes to our meeting all the time. And he talked at length about your flu shot and your COVID shot. He said this year, when you go get your flu shot, you can also get your COVID shot at the same time, which is nice because then you don't have to turn around and go back and you get the COVID. So he talked at length about that. The building, they are now in their new building. There's a few days left yet on the old contract of the building that burnt. And the gentleman is trying to get it rebuilt because he doesn't want to lose District Health 4 because they pay good and he'd like to keep. But they don't see that happening, so they moved everything into the new building with a lease. And everybody is really happy with it. We're starting union contracts next month. I think we have 5 or 6 dates set aside for the contract. So basically that's about it. Same old, the rest of them. Right.
Okay, 26 Judicial Circuit Court meeting. We had a meeting over in Montmorency, first time ever in Montmorency County. We discussed, we went through their budget. They're in the process of buying a new recording system for the circuit court. Budget's been set. Basically, that's about it. That was a pretty short meeting. Bill, you have anything on that? Ed?
I was there.
Yeah, you and Bert was there too. Oh, Bill wasn't there. That's right.
Wasn't there, I missed that one.
So what the circuit court has asked for their employees, instead of a percentage raise, i.e. 3 or 5%, they've asked for a flat $1,500 raise for the year. So they've, that way they didn't have a more disparity, if you will, within their different wage scales. So they're just going to give everybody a $1,500 raise for the year.
Any questions? Not, Bert, we cover MOA because I wasn't there all month.
Sure. So the last meeting was last Friday, 22 September. I have 3 things regarding our last landfill authority meeting. First of all, there are 3 counties, Montmorency, Oscoda, and Alpena County, that make up that authority for the landfill. Mary Catherine was there to present the proposal for our joint planning for the materials management plan. She's asking that all 3, because each county is responsible this year to have a materials management plan submitted to the state, and you get more money if you do joint planning. So at this point, at this time, the decision was for the authority to go to RRS, which happens to be the contractor for the MRF, to see if they would be willing to draft a proposal to develop our material management plan for all 3 counties. Each of the representatives of the other 2 counties thought that would be a good idea, so they will be reaching out to RRS to see if they'd be interested in providing that plan to meet the requirements of the materials management plan. Mary Catherine, anything else to add to that?
No, thank you.
Okay. The second item was the injection well status. Unfortunately, there's a further 30-day delay because the company that's supposed to build the annulus tank overbooked themselves, and they will not get it done till probably the end of October instead of mid-September. So that just puts everything behind by about 30 days. And lastly, as members of the authority is required to do a financial assurance report, and it's due not later than 30 October. This will need each of the full board's approval, all 3 counties. And because she, Connie, is the director of the MOA, she may be up against a timeline. She just wanted to give us a heads up that she may be sending it to each county, and we may have to use a poll action versus a actual vote at the October board meeting because of timing to get that back into the state and meet the 30 October suspense date. Subject to any questions, that's all I've got.
Bill, anything in the planning commission?
I don't have anything on that. I had some notes on it, but I on my desk. I got on Parks and Recreation and the Road Commission.
Okay.
Okay. Got that.
Fair board, Travis again. Keep you busy.
Yeah, it's okay. Patrick still wants a tractor. So we told him to get it on the budget and we see what we could do with it. He did make mention that their revenue is up considerably from last year. He also made mention that the temporary, or I guess, I don't know how I want to use the words, the additional campsites that they added in the field for the fair week went really well. It generated an extra 1,400, and I also thought it went well. At the last minute, we decided to go there, and there was still a few of those available. Worked out really nice, and the field was almost full of people. So he's going to make an effort to do that again next year. trying to get some proper quotes. Working with Wes on repairs to the house. There's a water leak. It's a little bit of uncertainty whether it is a window or the roof. We had one quote and I think it was maybe not solicited properly or maybe a little bit misunderstood. So that was for a roof replacement and replacing all the windows in the house. So we're trying to get a little bit more realistic quote on that. I did urge him to work a little bit quickly on that with, you know, the rain season coming up in the fall and the spring. So hopefully we can have something that is a little bit more fitting for that. We can make a decision on where we want to go from there. Other than that, Fair Week went really well. Everybody was happy. All I have.
Thanks, Travis.
Could I make a comment on that fair?
Sure.
My husband and I put our camper trailer into storage Saturday. And that building we put ours in was, I'd never seen it look so bad. It floor was filthy, tables were out, chairs were out, gates were out. The way the fair board left that building was indespicable. I called Mary Catherine and Mary Catherine did look into it and apparently they are going to go and clean it.
I think it's actually already done. But at the next Fair Board meeting, I will ask them, how the ball got dropped and then hopefully we can make sure that doesn't happen again next year.
Yeah, couldn't even get the trailer backed right up to the wall because they had all the stuff there. And everybody was putting their trailers, boats, everything in that day. So yeah, it was bad, really bad.
Okay.
And also I did talk to Patrick. He brought up that wall and floor is caving in, the wall is caving in. It's that.
This is at the house.
Yes. It's extremely bad shape.
In the basement?
The floor is sagging by the window and the wall is very soft. It's, I probably could go outside and push it in.
Is that because of the leak, you think, Travis?
That's the assumption I'm under as well, yeah.
It's gotta be.
So Wes has that as a project to pull the drywall and
Did
start
Wes
the
go look at it then?
and start the investigation, so.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
EMSCA, Commissioner Malone.
So the NEMSCA building in Sheboygan that needed a new roof, that project is finished. The annual plan was approved. It was a little sad that, their biggest thing is early Head Start. They are short-staffed for teachers. They literally have 14 programs in surrounding counties that can't be filled with children in need for early Head Start just because they literally have no staff. They're also looking for an RN in the Gaylord area, if anybody knows anybody looking for a position like that. But that was a heavy part of the meeting. They did go into detail about their weatherization program, specifically that attends to people mainly with disabilities, children in the home, elderly, income challenged families. They can apply for this. They have to apply online. There is some requirements to be in this program. You have to have records of payment for 12 months. Say like if it's for your furnace, that you've been paying your heating bill and things like that. You would partner with them. You also have to participate in an educational program about energy usage. You must own or rent the home. It is income-based, of course. No manufactured or mobile homes are eligible. And like I said, you just do it online, but they will do doors, windows, insulation, furnace, water heater, products in the home, such as Energy Star products, such as like your fridge, your freezer. Smoke detectors qualify as well. Carbon dioxide, exterior doors that aren't energy efficient qualify as well. It was a really good, I love this meeting. They feed me so good every time I go. It's like beautiful food. I was so happy you gave me that one. It was really a good meeting.
I just want to comment on one thing you mentioned about the teachers.
Yes.
During COVID, and I know because I talked to a teacher who told me about a number of teachers. And the reason that they lost a lot of teachers was because they forced them to get the COVID shot, just like the military.
Oh.
And we lost people due to that. And
They also,
this is carryover from.
they did lose some to the school system. The school system is paying about $1 more an hour. They did say that they did have some of their teachers sharked, but there's still 14 open positions and an open RN position. If they pay $19.57 an hour, so for early head start. Does anybody knows anybody looking for a job?
John, Deere.
Nothing's going on with Deere. In a long dry spell, and that's basically due to the fact that either the city or the county have a Deere officer, correct? So yes, you can't, I mean, I know we've had discussion about spending the money, different options with that, but we've not, what has it been, like 2 years now? We lost both the Deere officer and.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Yeah.
We'd like to get back to it, so. They are now full staff on the deputy side, so.
So not much there.
Okay. Do you have anybody that has interest in that program?
That's a good question, because that's one of those spots where you gotta have the right person.
Yeah, you really do.
We have some really smart young people that probably would be excellent at that job. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit. They gotta get experience as a law enforcement officer a little bit before you can just kind of move into something like that. So it's time consuming. And I know the city police is in the same boat. They have a lot of good people coming on. It just takes time.
That was an excellent program, especially for the children, because it helped them to know what they have to do in a situation.
Yeah, it would be good if we could rejuvenate
Yeah,
it.
it really would, especially this day and age.
Jesse's not here for Target. Travis, again, Northern Michigan counties, anything?
I haven't been to one of the meetings yet.
Okay.
They didn't have a meeting last month, so there's not a current update. I was gonna tell you before and I forgot to tell you. I'm so sorry.
Parks and Recreation, Bill.
Okay, the total assets, 622, 292, 86. Total liabilities, 152, 196, 41. And the parks have all been doing pretty well this year. Beaver Lake was up $3,000 for the year. A total of 68,968. Sunken Lake was down a little bit this year. They had a total of 65,778. They were down $6,800 this year. And Long Lake Park was up 8675. And the total revenue for the parks was 286, 461, 65. So the parks are doing well. They've had they're starting to wind down now because the park season, they're just getting a weekend people now. They don't stay during the week because the kids are all in school and everything, but they've done quite well this year, and I think they'll do good next year too, so.
Has Elmer started on the boat launch project yet?
They're supposed to start this fall. I don't know exactly what date.
They did. They started this week. I've been getting some great pictures, so I will forward those around to folks.
Awesome. 2 days already. And they sent pictures to me for both days.
Okay.
They're really going at it.
So nice.
It'll be nice.
Hey, Thunder Bay Transportation, Travis.
The last couple of meetings they have had there have actually been at the exact same time as our county meetings here. So I haven't been there, unfortunately, in a few months.
Okay. You got it away, John? Anything?
Nothing to discuss.
Okay. Solid Waste Management ties back right in with the MOA thing that Bert gave, so we're all set there. Veterans Affairs, Bert.
Again, that's why I have the conflict with NMRE. So Commissioner Osmer attended the last one and
Okay.
he's left, so.
Okay, Road Commission, Bill.
Okay, I got a report here if I can get to it. This is from July 24th to August 27th. the heavy maintenance projects. They did a lot of seal coating on Indian Reserve, Long Rapids, Carr Road, Posen Road, Long Rapids Road, and more on Long Rapids Road. They did gravel maintenance with shoulder maintenance for 2 days that period. They had sign maintenance, inventory maintenance, safety training, gravel spot patching, 13 days. And they hauled several 100 tons of 23A on the primary road, 682 tons of 23A on the local roads. They spent 13 days on seal coat. They did brush hog, drainage maintenance, replacing 2 drive culverts, asphalt maintenance, 9 days, building, housekeeping and equipment maintenance, tree maintenance. They had 6 days cutting down trees and limbs out of the right of way, intersection sweeping, mowing roadside, 16 days. And then just normal repairs on the equipment and the trucks and stuff. And they had roadside cleanup, adopt a highway, surface maintenance, mowing roadside, sweeping intersections, flagging for the crew that was cleaning the catch basins for the state. They did some slope repair on M32 near county line using 3 tons of 3 to 5 inch riprap. That's pretty much. See, they had total receipts of $598, $946.79. And their ending balance was $3,413,387.61.
I have a question, Bill. Was there any more talk on a bypass on 32?
Well, there's going to be a meeting, township meeting next month. And that they're kind of in control that the road committee wants to do it. But we've got to get everybody together to get it done. I think it's going to get done, but I'm just not sure when.
Are you talking about for the school?
Yeah.
So I did, to add to this, I happened to be coming home from work and I drove into a hot mess. And I was very disturbed about what I drove into. So I did notice on social media that there was 6 buses down that day. So that's, imagine how many kids are on each of that bus. So that's a parent, grandparent, friend, neighbor, whatever, driving these kids to and from school. The traffic to pick these children up from school was backed up all the way to the light, all the way back down to almost Meyer. And then on the straightaway of 3rd, it was backed up past almost 2 roads. And then there was people in the grass parked all over, and some of the kids were let out, and there's kids walking all over, and there's cars everywhere. And it was just, I mean, it was a disaster. And I was sitting there and I was like, this is the scenario. This is worst case scenario, because I've never seen it that bad, but their staffing is such an issue with the transportation for the school that this is a daily occurrence that there's buses not running. Literally almost every day, they're like, not this bus, not this bus, not this bus, and this traffic's so bad. So I had a good conversation with Nathan Skibby. I called him. I also had a really good conversation with Mr. Breggy as well. And I sent them the pictures that I took from my car while it was stopped. But I was like, this is how these kids are going to get hit. This is how we're going to have accidents. There's road rage. People were just pulling up just enough and snaking their car around, and kids run into their parents. I mean, if there was ever a day where that was worst case scenario, that was it. And this is getting more and more regular. I mean, we're all just going to have to, like intergovernmental, I mean, we're all really going to have to seriously talk about this. Something has to be done about this.
Brady wants to get it done.
He does too.
They have the property.
And then he asked me if I would give him the money that he wants. And I said, just, we keep a, paper mill in the
That's the problem.
basement. So.
Somebody's got to come up with the money.
Right. But I think there's enough people in the community. And I think if we all come together and like really seriously discuss it, okay, this is what we have to do to make this happen. How do we make this happen? But we're really going to have to collaborate. It might be an unheard of collaboration, but I think it truly has to be done. And I'll probably passionately talk about it at intergovernmental too. I was horrified. I've never seen anything like that.
She sent me the pictures and she said, there's a Taylor Swift concert at the junior high.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my 2 cents.
Well, and Commissioner LaHaye, it's my understanding that the road commission is moving forward with a study to get a cost on
They're doing
that, right? Yeah.
They haven't got that back yet, but
It's a shame that they don't have the money to save children's lives.
Yeah.
well,
We'll figure it out.
they all want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's going to get done.
We'll figure it out.
When?
The only other question I have, Bill, was anything discussed about the Beaver Lake Road?
Oh, yes. Good
Well,
question.
that's
So
a continuing problem. They're trying to work on getting some material in there that's got more binder in it so it doesn't go off the side of the road. But they haven't resolved that yet. And they're working on it, but it's not going to get a heck of a lot better anytime soon.
So I was
just gonna say, so Amy Matuzak that came and spoke to her Board of Commissioners, she went to speak to Ossining Township, because obviously it's in Ossining Township. I just happened to be there. I met with her, I think last week, one day. And so we had a discussion on how she thought she should move forward. And I said, obviously, it's not us. It's with the road commission. But during our conversation, we said, she's like, I'm willing to go meet with anybody. So during that conversation with her, we talked about, because she said this board, township board, that there's a number of grants out there, state grants, funding that potentially, somebody could look forward to or look into. And so anyway, and I haven't talked to her since, because she said she just met with Cam Cabot, because we talked and said, I think that would be a good person to go to at the state level, is when he comes to Alpena, and meet with him, but he was down in, I think, Alpena. So she drove down the other day and told me that she had met with him and said it was a really good meeting with Cam Cabot. So I think she's going to pursue that, and she's not going to stop pursuing this because she's very adamant about it.
Well, and, I know that in Alcona County this summer, we put down like 4,500 ton of millings. And that would definitely do the trick. And we have these millings at the airport that we're trying to find a home for. Maybe I'll call Jesse in the morning at Alcona and see how those are working for them. And I'll go talk to Ryan and see if he thinks that's something we could do there.
Well, they were having a material problem because the pit they go out of for that road, the material it doesn't have any binder in it. And so it's going off the side of the road, but they can't keep it on the road. And then they discussed on putting clay and whatever in the material, but if you get too much clay, then you got a mud pit and the wet weather. So you've got to get a balance in there where the road is going to stay stable. And it's a gravel road. It's going to have to be graded, several times during the year. And it's one of those things that it's hard to resolve.
Right.
The best way to be to pave it, but the money isn't there to do that. And the townships have to come to the table on those projects too, because the road commission
Well, I know
has to have some support.
just literally got with the road commission, a 3-mile portion of Wolf Creek, the one that extends past there. And they basically said it was almost about $1 million a mile.
Okay. Anything else, Bill?
No, I'm all set there.
Okay. NMMMA.
I think I'll refer to that as the authority. So, so the authority last met on 24 August. The next meeting is this Thursday, the 28th of September. But the bottom line is the authority has a critical cash flow problem, and they're looking at different mitigation strategies. 31 August, the CEO of RRS, his name is JD. How's that for some acronyms, right? So the CEO of RRS, JD, who has the project manager for the MRF, visited the authority, and we're going to provide courses of action for this, for the mitigation strategy. And we expect to receive that on the 28th of September.
Any questions? Not, we're going to public comment. Anybody in the audience want to get in?
Well, one thing I had, Just, I got a little note at the end here. So you did an excellent job with finding a potential buyer with the ambulance. I saw the ambulance is back. How did that all work out?
So Eric and I have been talking about this all day. We really had a lot of struggles with the local Ford dealer, to be honest. We hired them to do an inspection and it was definitely less than adequate inspection. So they didn't charge us, which didn't really help the fact, but it is what it is. And then it took 2 weeks to get the piece of paper. So I did reach out to the ambulance guy today. And I talked to him for about 10 seconds and he said he was going to call me back. He was on the other line and I honestly didn't think to call him back again. So I will.
So as far as your inspection, it wasn't really an inspection then?
No.
And then how will that impact them? You don't know yet?
So I'm going to talk to the gentleman tomorrow and see if he would prefer we just get another inspection done at a smaller local place. And see what he has to say. Regardless, it was only a $2,000 difference.
What was the issue with the Ford dealer? Or was it the Ford dealer?
Yeah, I don't really know. To be honest with you, I talked with a gentleman in the service department and he told me that they were going to do an inspection, $140. So Eric got the ambulance over there and they did an inspection and then we just couldn't get the paperwork. And then we did get the paperwork. It was like about a 5-minute inspection, so they weren't going to charge us. It just wasn't a great experience.
Well, I'm gonna throw this out there. If you need the ambulance driven someplace for the next inspection, just, I'm offering my services.
I want to go.
Robin and I will take it there.
All right. I bet
You know how great that would be? We'll drive it. I'm a great driver.
But do the lights and sirens work?
I was gonna say, disconnect the light and sirens before you let them go.
Yeah, John will be pulling that commissioner card when he gets pulled over by the state police. Hey, so ironically, I literally right now got an email from the ambulance guy.
See, I knew that was coming. That's why I brought it up.
Segue, great segue.
So sorry, I forgot to call you back earlier. I was just reviewing my day. Text me again. Reviewing my day now and saw the note to myself to call you back. You can call me now or tomorrow. I'm in Central Time Zone. If there was a mechanic report, even a minimal, you can email it to me. And I already have his email, but he sent it again. And I will send that to him before I leave here since we're online. And hopefully by next meeting we'll have a check for an ambulance.
Okay, anybody else? Not public comment.
But you'll do it in the beginning next time, won't you?
State your name and your address, please.
But frankly, I've learned a lot and it's very interesting and you guys cover some good stuff. My name is Kevin Ginter. I live at 390 South Lawn in Alpena and suggested it's a good segue. Robin talked about her passion for the school issue and for paying attention. The lady from the library, she loves working at the library. It's amazing. My passion is for public service and I've spoke here about the same thing. I guess to some degree, I always had some continuing or whatever, attack in my shoe or a rock or what have you. And then the Alpena news decides, I'm not sure why, but in an effort to fill space, it's easy to put that large picture on the front page of the Alpena news, try to get attention. My issue is with part of the article, which refers to Alpena Township. Alpena Township continues to neglect plan for public safety. That's really where I'm coming from, public safety. The part of the charter township is to provide law enforcement and Alpena Township gets away with just a small portion of providing police protection for 120 square miles of a dedicated patrol unit. Alpena County needs more firefighters. They need to keep and retain more firefighters. This last go around with the township and the city of Alpena for a contract, all that did was ruin a fire department. What that did was it had the potential, and for a short time, took a dozen to 20 different firefighters out of usefulness in the county. This resurrecting of this same old expense problem with no plan by the public officials there in Alpena Township is troubling at best. You don't have the money. You have other townships that are smaller, a lot of ag, so you may not have a lot of tax base. Come up with a plan. Look at Mr. Francisco, Commissioner Francisco said something at a, I believe it was this year at a township board meeting. Hey, come up with a plan. Work ahead, look to the future, make some plans. The other issue is that you cannot continue to run and operate 120 square miles of Alpena Township with one mill operating, in addition to the small millage for the fire department itself. In the article, there was a mention of the voters speaking and
3 minutes.
3 minutes, sorry.
If it's okay, I'll give him my 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'd just like you to finish. You sat for an awful long time to wait.
And I'll speak again, because there's, I mean, this is I look at it as a tip of the iceberg. I'll leave one last comment that's directed toward the article specifically, which is that the township supervisor spoke specifically about the voters speaking and not supporting the millage. I would argue, some would say it's my opinion, but I would say with pretty good certainty that this is a reflection of the mistrust that the Alpena Township voters have of their elected officials. They want to support the fire department. They just don't want to give money and not know how it's being accounted for. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else in the audience? Anybody online got their hand raised? Not, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner LeHaye, support by Commissioner LaLonde. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You adjourned.